Welcome everyone. Hello, hello. My name is Nelly and I'll be the moderator on behalf of Prep Advisor. We organize various events and webinars helping prospective students to find the best MBA program for them. So we have organized this special event today in cooperation with Middlesex University Dubai to help you make the best choice for your education. In the first part of the event, you will hear a special masterclass. You will hear a mini lecture on the topic of cross-cultural leadership. In the second part, you will learn more about the opportunity to study an MBA at Middlesex University, Dubai. Before starting, I want to tell everyone who is listening, you can ask questions anytime during the webinar, just using the Q&A box or the chat box as well. You will take time at the end of the event to answer all your questions. All questions are welcome, so don't hesitate. So I think everything is set up now. Nitin, I'm giving the word to you.
Thank you so much, Neely, for the opportunity. Hi, everyone. Very good afternoon and also a good evening to people joining from various parts of the world. I am Dr. Nitin. I am the senior lecturer at the business school at Middlesex University, Dubai. And I'm today, taking the privilege to interact with all of you and talk about a very dear topic of mine called cross-cultural leadership. And also I'll be talking on the MBA program as such. So the first part of my presentation would be on the cross-cultural leadership, and after about 25 minutes of interaction on the topic, then we'll move on to providing you the brief on our MBA program and various versions that we offer, right? So Nelly, could you please confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, everything looks fine.
All right. Thank you so much. So as I said, this is Dr. Nitin Bihari. I'm senior lecturer at the business school at Middlesex University, Dubai. And, so the topic for today's masterclass is Bridging Worlds, Mastering the Art of Cross-Cultural Leadership. I assume that in a lot of you would have a certain understanding already of the broad topic, a very interesting topic called leadership, and we will go dig deep into the cross-cultural aspects of leadership. I know generally during the lecture hours at Middlesex University, we tend to interact with our audience a lot. So this is a very special webinar where if at any point of time, if you have any questions, please do put that in a chat. Every 5 to 10 minutes, I will stop and then ask Neely to read out the questions or some comments made in the chat box, so I can happily to address them. Right. So that's the way we go ahead with. So the first thing to begin with understanding today is what is leadership, right? So leadership can be defined in many different ways, but it is very easily understood in the analogy of a good driving, right? So probably you can just put some points that come to your mind in the chat. How is leadership understood with an analogy of good driving? So an individual who is driving a car, so the characteristics that individual, the driver, displays, can we understand leadership to those from those lens? That's a starting point to understand leadership. So probably you can just put in some bullet points if that comes to your mind in the chat section as well. So I believe some of you might be thinking in the same lines, right? When you are driving, you should know where is your destination, and that's also something which a leader's vision and direction that we call it. And you got to be more aware of your surroundings, the lane in which you're driving, and how many cars or how many other automobiles are near and around you. And a quick responsiveness is also so that you're more alert of the conditions or the changing conditions, which are more dynamic when you're driving. That's another factor. And the judgment and decision making, adaptability, communication. While you're driving, you're communicating to your the other automobiles who are around you, not by a verbal communication, but by using signaling, by using the lights and the various ways you communicate with the other automobiles who are also along with you on the road. So and then we move on to patience and endurance. right? So you know you have to reach the destination, but you got to be showing that adequate patience and endurance, so maintaining the stability, so that you will not become you will not create any risk to other fellow motorists or drivers. So the leadership is best understood for me as good driving skills, right? So if you really look at a potential definition that has come up, leadership is the ability of an individual to influence, motivate, and enable. So these are the three main factors that are ingrained in the idea of leadership. And these three should together act as a nexus to achieve effectiveness. So effectiveness can be employee effectiveness, team effectiveness, or organizational effectiveness. So any individuals whose ability. So you are an individual who is sitting in the car, and probably you can treat this car that you're driving as your organization. So every leader has his or her own style of driving, temperament, attitude, risk-taking ability, vision, so a lot of things. So you are steering the organization, right? So organizations can be Ferraris, organizations can be Rolls Royce, organization can be Mercedes, but it is end of the day how you as a leader are able to maneuver them, and that's where it becomes more critical in terms of understanding varying leadership styles, right? So in a lot of multicultural environments, we are with increasing globalization. We have at modern days, we have companies operating in different markets, right? So for example, Middlesex University operates in three different countries, right? So let's say Google as a company operates in 80 plus countries in the world. Now you have a headquarters at some region, and the headquarters has a given culture. The headquarters has a given policies. Now, how do you think you can adhere as a branch company, as a branch office? How do you distance yourself and align at the same time to your headquarters? So what we anticipate is becoming international is not everything, right? So the best way that companies can leverage upon the trends of globalization is to become transnational. When I say transnational, you got to be responsive to local markets, at the same time align with the policies and procedures of your headquarters or the parent campus, wherever we are. In Middlesex University, we contextualize a lot of case studies, a lot of activities that are related to GCC, right? Or the MENA region, we call it as Middle East and North Africa, or the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. So even though we are a UK university, we understand the curriculum. We try to talk about some modern contemporary changes that has come into this region, the Gulf region, and try to give that learning alongside with the other international case studies. So the more you are transnational, you can make the best out of your local markets as well as your headquarters. So leaders should be at the forefront of making this change. If leaders get distracted, in understanding being international or being global as the destination that they should reach, then we will not be able to reveal the full potential that the markets offer, right? So as I said, leaders, and leadership, is directly related to what kind of autonomy that employees get, what kind of culture that organizations they experience. So we have authoritarian leaders, we have leaders who give a lot of autonomy to the employees. A lot of research has been done in terms of flexible work arrangements, of how employees, if they were given a lot of autonomy and flexibility in their work practices, they tend to be more creative and then increasing their performance and productivity levels, right? Okay, you can see in these two pictures that I have generated, is one of the AI tools, where you can see a leader who is more authoritative, results driven, and then everything is more hierarchical in nature. And then this also signifies the structure of this organization and also a culture of this organization, right? So the culture is more rigid here. That's what at least we can see based on the images. So on the right side, it looks like a typical Google's work environment or a workplace, where you can see a lot of probably the boss here is sitting on the slide and then trying to create that environment of positive, supportive culture, it's employees. There's no dress code. You can see there are relaxed environments. There's sleeping pods. There are slides. There are sofas and and other ambience related factors which are making the environment much more lively. So there is structure and there is culture and there's leadership which can be understood among several other factors between these two images, right? So if you look at leadership as such, so we have two. The full range model of leadership talks about a transactional leadership and a transformational leadership. Now the transactional leadership, is a leadership style depicted by a leader who is more passive and ineffective. That's considered to be a little more inactive leadership, right? Especially to these two aspects of the transactional. So transactional leadership essentially deals with, a leader who just rewards the employees for their performance. That's all. If so the employees perform and then the leader would ideally reward these employees. So nothing beyond that, nothing beyond the job role. But if you look at transformational leadership, that's where the beauty of leadership is and the power of leadership is. The transformational leadership is going beyond your job role as a leader and trying to meet these four I's we call idealized influence. So a leader being seen as an idealized influence among their followers or team members, as an inspirational motivation, or creating that intellectual stimulation among the team members or the employees and trying to make those individualized considerations among the team members. So essentially you are creating a sense of an extra role behavior among your employees, because if employees are seeing the job as just 9 to 5, then your company won't be reaching beyond the expected or beyond the status quo, right? So if you want to achieve exceptional performance, exceptional profits, exceptional growth, your employees have to really consider your leaders, and they should get influenced by the leaders. So this is ideally what we call it as a full range leadership model. So we want more of transformational leaders. So the question raises, do we have more transformational leaders? So is it the job of an organization to find the transformational leader first and then assign that leader to the CEO position and then start the employees getting inspired by him or her? So but essentially, we have very few transformational leaders. We can talk about Steve Jobs, Satya Nadella, and then of course, transformational leaders are there in many professions and occupations. So transformational leaders, for example, Nelson Mandela, can be seen as a transformational leader in the field of his contribution, right? So I'm sure a lot of you might have seen this movie Invictus. So this movie is based out of 1995 Rugby World Cup, based out of South Africa, right? So it was the first time South Africa is looking at various activities to get international attention. They're coming out of apartheid, and they thought Rugby World Cup might be a great initiative to create that soft power and to create that a sense of communication among a lot of stakeholders in the sports industry. So they hosted the Rugby World Cup in 1995, and because of hosting, their rugby team Springboks got also a chance to be part of the World Cup. So they were underdogs. The rugby team of South Africa was never really considered as a competing team by the big players in the rugby world. So eventually, thanks to the transformational leadership style of the captain and the prime minister, the president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. The transformation leadership is to inspire people without really talking about it, right? So if you see this movie and understand it is based on a book, how the transformation leadership was in play in these two people, which has led the South African rugby team to win the World Cup in 1995, right? So underdogs, trying to win the World Cup, in that prestigious stage is something that we can't really expect, more often, right? So transformational leaders are very few. And then once you find them, once you start working with them, your performance and your productivity and your outlook towards the work itself is going to definitely change, right? So this is all about typical leadership. Now, there are various leadership traits that leaders need to exhibit. Among all of this, empathy leads. Empathy leads. So empathy is understanding the other person, to the core, and then trying to be in the shoes of the other person and understand the difficulties and challenges and act accordingly. So we have so many traits that leaders need to exhibit. Among all the traits, among all the research being done, among the number of traits that leaders should display, empathy leads. Without empathy, there's nothing that is really possible to inspire others from your work. So at this point, I would like to tell you that this is a brief on what is leadership, what kind of leadership styles that people have, and these are more universal in nature. Empathy as a leadership trait is acceptable in any part of the world. Okay, if leaders display empathy, and it will have positive results. So there are certain universalistic aspects to leadership, and there are certain culture specific aspects to leadership. So our focus today is not to only generalize on how leadership can work across every part of the world, but what are those cultural specific aspects that leaders should keep in mind to lead in a cross cultural context. So that's the that's how we want to progress today with our talk. So probably at this point, I will take a quick 30 seconds pause and ask you, in order for leaders to succeed in various cultures. For example, UAE, United Arab Emirates, is a country with around 10 percentage of the nationals and 90% of expatriates living in, right? So it becomes heavily cross-cultural if you take any random sample in the country, right? So if you are a manager operating in UAE and your company is an American company and your reportees are more of Asians, how do you understand this dynamic? How do you understand the interplay of different people understanding different having different communication styles, different business etiquettes? How do you standardize this? So is there a need to standardize it, or can we all adapt to different diverse cultural implications that can come up, is the question. So if you can quickly drop in some key competencies that leaders should need in order to excel in a cross-cultural context. So you can scan this QR code. It's a Padlet window. So probably I can just pick one or two points that you might have listed there. So you can just scan the QR code. You will be able to see this question. So I want you to just put in a couple of points so that we can take the discussion forward. So do we have any questions in the chat so far?
Hi, yes, we have a question which is actually very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, what can you do if your personality or personal way of working doesn't match to the organization that you have joined?
Okay, so personality of an individual and the organizational culture, that should have a fit. Normally, when the recruitment happens, when the selection happens of a candidate, the recruiters tend to evaluate the candidate's technical competencies at the same time the cultural fit. So probably if an individual feels that the fit is incorrectly assessed, the individual can see if that is possible to align. For example, an individual used to work in a very flexible, flat organizational structure. Now it happens to be a very rigid and hierarchical structure. So there's a stark difference between these two. So the individual has to assess that, is it possible to adapt to the conditions, or is it, is too much to adapt. So that's the thing. So the organizational culture is much bigger than an individual's value systems or personality. So it's up to the individual. If at times individuals can be trained, upskilled to get this adaptability done. If it is too much, of it, then it can be raised as a legitimate concern to the line managers and to the HR team. That has to be dealt in a very, very organic way. That would be my answer to it.
Thank you very much. I think that in the chat we received maybe an answer to your question. The leader should be a good listener.
Okay,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Leader should be definitely a good listener. That's where the empathy would come into picture. Listening leads to understanding. Understanding leads to becoming more empathetic. Yeah, so I'll just try to see if there are any Padlet responses to my question. This. Okay. So looks like people decided to answer it in the chat itself. No problem. These are some of the competencies that leaders should keep in their mind, especially when they're operating in a cross-cultural context. The cultural intelligence is the first and foremost. Do I really understand my colleague who is coming from Japan? What is acceptable for this person? What is not acceptable? Do I really understand my colleague coming from the France or US or UK? Can we cluster some cultures into one, or something like that? We have various communication styles. People would, some cultures are more direct communication, some are more interested in direct communications. We have more high context and the low context cultures. So do we have adequate understanding of this? So what kind of leadership styles are more aligned to a specific culture? So these are some of the key competencies the leader should be keeping in their mind. So I think we understand fairly what is leadership. And if you look at culture, now that's where we will get the understanding of cross-cultural now in the next two slides or so. So culture is basically defined as a glue that binds people together in an organization. So culture is the shared values. If a team of 10 people believe that their organization is XYZ, then that becomes a culture. Culture is nothing but what your employees' beliefs are in general, right? We have one big culture and we have so many subcultures in the organization. So how you as a leader try to understand the overall culture of your organization and also various subcultures available. Now these subcultures can be because of people with like-mindedness, people with similar ethnicities, with similar genders and similar functional areas that they're working in. So every organization will have subcultures as well. How do I understand them? So I was talking about this. Typically, this is some research evidence that I have collected from various research papers. A Japanese manager is trained to never criticize an employee openly or in front of others. Right. So now that's the style of a Japanese manager. And then if you are, deciding to work in Japan, you should also need to understand that this is a culture that they follow in general as a national culture, or a corporate culture for that matter. A Dutch manager is trained to always be honest and open and never mix the feedback, which is more positive and negative. Right. So if you want to criticize an employee based on his appraisal of the last financial year, so you may specify a window where everything that has been done good can be discussed, and probably you can schedule a different session, or maybe you can keep the negative messages towards the end, or keep it very separate from what positive feedback is. That's a usual thing. Probably you might have found some exceptions out here, but this is all research based evidence that I'm presenting. Exceptions are always possible. Now, Americans are generally trained to wrap positive messages around negative messages. So that means this is sort of a feedback, which is called sandwich feedback. Now, a sandwich feedback is where you criticize, probably you start with some compliments and then you bring in the criticism, which is the negative one, and end the discussion by complimenting the other person. Right. So positive, negative, and positive. So that becomes a sandwich feedback. And that is what Americans normally do. And then the French are most often trained to criticize passionately and provide positive feedback sparingly. So the French managers essentially think that, okay, if something has to be criticized, they can go on and on, but anything that the employee has done good, they think that is implicit. So whatever I am not commenting on as a manager, you are expected that you're doing good. Whatever I'm commenting on negatively, the employee has to improve it. right? So whatever the manager is not commenting on, that means the employee is doing good at it, right? So these are some of the evidence that I could collect. And even, for example, in France, a lot of expatriates now move to France and they work in various corporates. And generally, French, people in France, especially the nationals, like their language very much, and it's very popular globally. But as an expatriate, even though you can only speak English, but if you start learning French, they like you more. They kind of appreciate that. So knowing this as a fact, as a leader, if you start trying to make efforts to implement it, I am sure you get that likability among your team members, among your employees, right? So you can once you get your team on board, once you know that your team likes you as a leader, then you can start getting the work done. So you are really not playing on the tasks here, you are playing on the relationship. So once get the relationship established and then make it intact, then you can really get the task done, no matter how hard they are, no matter how many short deadlines they have to face. Once they like the leader, the employees will go beyond, over and beyond, to achieve it, right? So we have seen which kind of leadership is more effective across different cultures, especially when you have a cross cultural implication, right? So the universally most effective one is a charismatic leadership or a value based leadership. So inspiring your followers, making your talk less and then doing everything in actions. A lot of this will lead to exceptional performance, right? So that's more of charismatic leadership and value based, that is tend to be universally most effective. And we have various other autonomous and self-protective kinds of leadership are observed to be ineffective, especially when you have your cross-cultural settings, right? So autonomous is more being individualistic as a leader, and self-protective is being more self-centered and looking at your own growth as a leader. They tend to be ineffective, in almost many cross-cultural settings. So if you were to quickly see what kind of culture you are globally, are you a peach culture or a coconut culture, right? So individuals who belong to the peach culture are easy to talk to, right? They can have a quick smile even at strangers. You can just say hi and then they'll respond to you back. You can, within first few minutes of conversation, you can ask a lot of personal questions of what is your family, how long have you been here, what is your aspiration in life, so what kind of car that you drive. You can ask a lot of personal questions in the first 5 minutes of interaction. That's more of a peach culture. And at the same time, the people with peach cultures, they protect the real self, so the hard substance is somewhere deep down, so that you cannot really break as a stranger. It takes a lot of time, to reach to that stage, and they start really opening up to you. But we have coconut cultures. So for example, coconut cultures are very closed and reserved. They don't even want to smile to strangers, and it takes a lot of time to get some information on the personal questions, and it's a very slow process to extract information from them, right? So that's about peach and coconut, right? So if you see, United States is more considered to be a peach culture, and France is more considered to be a coconut culture, right? So again, these are classifications that people made based on general evidence that we get, but we can always argue otherwise, right? But how do we know? How do you know, like, I'm a manager, I'm going to travel, like, on a weekly basis, I have to travel to one country. So and then how far I can keep track of these various cross cultural implications? Is there a manual that I can just quickly go through, read, and then be ready as a leader to give my performance to my team in a given country? And how do I know as an individual about 190 cultures, from 190 countries? So it is practically impossible, right? So that's a question that I'm sure a lot of your minds will be asking you by now. So that's where I'm getting into to my second half of my presentation. So we have four main frameworks that leaders can take help of to understand various cultures across the globe. Hofstede's five dimensions in 1980, and they added six dimension in 2001. The globe stands for global leadership and organizational behavior effectiveness research project, and we have squads cultural values, and we have gulf funds cultural orientation. So in the lack of time today, I'm going to focus a little bit on these two, which are very very important and highly cited and highly valued, especially when you have your cross cultural leadership is understood, right? So Hofstede. So before I go any further, do I have any questions in the chat, please?
Yeah, Nitin, you have one. How can I, as a leader, be both friendly and approachable, but keep my authority?
Yes, that's a very good question. There's no straightaway answer to this. It comes by practice. There's always that elasticity between being very bossy, rigid with the rules, and being very flexible and friendly with your employees. So that's something that you have to really understand the personality of your team. Build the relationship and make sure that you are honest as a leader. Tell them that what you preach is what you practice. Make sure this is actually ingrained among all your team members. And then whatever you say, once the team members establish the fact that, okay, my leader is honest, he is value based, he or she is ethical in nature, he or she does not exploit us just by giving a lot of work to us for no reason, or we are compensated fairly. Once this fairness and the ethics and the values and the expectations between the two parties are set, okay, this has to be the first thing, no matter however you want to be. Once these are clear, then you can just play around. At times on a given day you're too strict, at times you're too friendly. Then your team members do not exploit that part of you, right? So it's all the good leadership is always relationship based. Okay, it's purely task based, then I don't think that's a sustainable approach to follow. Yeah. That's my answer to that question. Any other questions at this point?
No, we don't have any more questions so far.
Okay, thank you. So Hofstede talks about these six dimensions: power, distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, short-term and long-term orientation, indulgence and restraint. So probably you can read a little more on this. So, but what this six dimension framework tells is that Hofstede did a global research in two parts, one 1980, one 2001. This research exemplifies that if I understand these six dimensions, what is power, distance, what is individualism, and each one of them, and all the countries are categorized as low, medium, or high among these six dimensions. The moment I understand these six dimensions, I will be able to understand what kind of culture that this country is, and how should I able to behave and act, right? So, and these six dimensions are not enough. That's why you have globe as a framework that has come in. So globe study has come up with nine dimensions, so assertiveness to uncertainty avoidance. Some of these dimensions were part of the Hofstede's dimensions, and the globe dimensions say that, okay, in these cultures, countries with these cultures or corporates with these cultures, so you can ideally use a specific leadership style which is more appropriate. So there is adequate research in terms of how this is being done, so we can use that, and then we can minimize, right? A lot of research has been done. So if you look at the Middle East and North Africa region, so which is more effective? For example, the power distance, for example, talks about what is the hierarchy typically in corporates. How much is a lower level employee is far away from the CEO, right? So that's the power distance. How much is authority prevailing? So it is ideally it should be here, but it is little more than what is expected. That's the MENA region's finding. So the future orientation, how much these companies plan for the future. Ideally, they're supposed to be here, but at this point they're here, right? So you can have a lot of understanding on culture specific information. And in our courses, we go very much in deep, in our sessions among these programs. So I would like to conclude by saying that leadership style, no matter whatever you whatever your style is, either you are a task oriented leader or relationship oriented leader, are you a transactional leader or transformational leader, are you a servant leader or are you a leader with laissez-faire approach, right? So your leadership style has specific outcomes. Now if these outcomes are to be positive, if these outcomes are to be more rewarding to the employees, the teams, and the organization, you got to understand what is the culture. You got to understand what is the culture. So, and you have to see the fit. As somebody was asking about the fit, between the individual personality and the organization. Even for the leaders, what style is more appropriate? I was democratic in my last stint in my past company, but can I still be exhibiting the democratic leadership style, or should I change my ways because of a multicultural crowd? Because increasingly in any company that you take, your crowd is multicultural, your employees are multicultural, right? So in fact, the employees are not only in person, but you have a lot of employees virtually associated with you. So in that context also, you need to understand whether there is fit or incongruence, and based on that, your leadership style has to be changed. So the very similar case has been written in Harvard Business Review. An automobile tire manufacturing company called Michelin, right? So they have hired an executive from France. They have hired an executive from France, and it's a US based company. So this executive, a top executive, thought, okay, I have 17 years of experience and I worked in the UK. I can communicate English very well. I think I can succeed very well in the US market as a top executive of a head of a division. But this executive, did not succeed well. He had to face a lot of complaints from the US employees despite his UK experience and being a French national. So this is the reverse of when Emily comes to Paris, right? So this French guy goes to a position from the US. So now, if you decode a typical French versus American culture, French people, as I said, they are more into implicit positive feedback and more negative feedback. So French managers, essentially, if you're working with a French manager, just understand this: they will criticize you whenever there is an opportunity, but they will not give you a lot of compliments for no reason, right? So they think that I know I'm generalizing this. It may or may not be the case with every French manager, but this is generally observed in academic research, right? And French managers do not entertain any personal questions. If you ask, that will offend them. It is not the case in the American culture. And so French managers also experience that, when they criticize, when they provide the negative feedback to the employees always push back. Employees say that, okay, we are good, there is some problem with the system or the process. So French employees also do not just accept the feedback as such. But employees in the US, they tend to receive the negative feedback. That's what the research says. And also the French management style is more direct, it is more clear and frank, and it is more soft and diplomatic in the American style. The communication is more explicit in the French side, and the American side you have more complex. It's more low context, we say. The culture is more coconut. As I said, coconut is hard outside where it's not easy to talk in the initial few minutes or the few interactions, but the Americans are very easy to talk initially, and then the hard part is getting into their safeguarded space with more and more personal details, right? So that whole case study that we discuss, so this case study I normally discuss in my cross-cultural setting session of my leadership module, which I teach to the MBA students. So we talk more on what different cultures prevail. We'll create groups among the students. They share their experience of their own managers from different cultures, how they have learned from them, and then that's how we kind of conclude the class. The key recommendation to every one of you, and then to all of us, is it is imperative that work cultures are more multicultural, and it is getting more and more of that in the future. And for that, we have to make sure that the leaders are trained across cultural settings. We can't assume that leaders with experience, they automatically will have the competencies of managing cross-cultural crowd. Leaders should be trained actively and make sure that the leadership behavior is aligned with the local culture. The local culture, when I say, it is both the national culture and the organizational culture. and make sure that every organization has various subcultures, and then leaders should be trained on understanding these subcultures also and valuing them and treating those subcultures and the people within them with a lot of empathy. And lastly, we enhance global mindset and cultural sensitivity such that we will not have any issues of diversity, inclusivity, equity, and belongingness, right? So DEIB is also very important. If you as a leader are more inclusive and cross-culturally sensitive, then your organization is more going to thrive in to become an inclusive workplace, right? So that's about my talk for the first part of the session. Any questions on the talk or any comments so far?
We still don't have any more questions, but of course, everyone is welcome to ask. Meanwhile, if you wish, you can continue further with your second part of the presentation.
Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of you must be waiting for the Middlesex MBA program as well. So this is a typical virtual class. As I said, we generally make it very interactive, and then we have a lot of other tools that we use to gamify the experience. But I'll get into that details a bit. So Middlesex MBA is a flagship postgraduate program that we offer to the students in our Dubai campus, especially, and we have two more campuses, Mauritius and London, right? So essentially, the Middlesex MBA focuses on these elements. So we would like to give a global perspective, like for example, the cross-cultural leadership. It makes sure that every element, every aspect of multinational enterprises are given due importance, and then we give that perspective. We will not generalize it with one country specific perspective. So we focus on innovation and entrepreneurship. We have a huge diversity among our student cohorts. We have people from in the university per se. We have about 5,800 students in the university, and then we have about 120 plus nationalities studying in our university. And we have at least 30 to 40 plus nationalities studying in our MBA cohort as well, which I've been teaching for the last 2 years. Now, it's a great opportunity for you to interact with people with varied experience, and people are working in different functional areas, from healthcare to finance to analytics to IT, so some supply chain and henceforth. So it's a great opportunity to interact with people from multiple countries working in Dubai for many years, and some of them are international students who only fly to Dubai to study with us and then make career out of it, right? So the program generally offers a lot of career advancement opportunities with the form of internships and job fairs, and also professional development workshops that we do in like team building, project management, entrepreneurship, and etc., such that an individual also is more prepared to face the real corporate heat, and then perform well and exceed the expectations. So at this point, the MDX MBA program is offered in two versions. We have launched the day MBA program this year. So the day MBA program is directed to our potential students with very limited experience, who recently graduated and have the experience of anywhere between 0 to 2 years of experience, right? So that's where the day MBA comes in. The timings of day MBA is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So this is offered in both September and January intakes, right? So the next intake is in September. So the executive MBA, is targeted at potential students who are more than having 2 years of work experience. So it can also reach to 50 to 20 years of experience. We have a few colleagues who are at the rank of the senior vice presidents in various banks in the UAE, and they happen to be our students. Last year when I was teaching them, so they also have 15 plus years of experience. So they tend to choose executive MBA, right? So executive MBA and the day MBA is offered in both part-time and full-time mode. Okay, so when I say part-time, it is the structure remains the same, but the duration is for 2 years. The program will be for 2 years if you take either of these programs as part-time mode. If you take either of these programs in full-time mode, so you will be able to finish the program in 1 year, right? So if you're considering to take up any of these two programs in part-time mode, so you are expected to visit the university for the classes at least 2 or 3 times per week. 2 or 3 times, so that you will continue to do so for 2 years. That becomes your part-time, right? So if you want to complete it quickly, that's where your full-time option comes into picture, where you're supposed to come all 5 days of the week, right? All 5 days. So it's just the duration, but the content, structure, rigor, everything will remain the same, no matter whether if you take it in part-time or full-time mode. So I'll take more questions, once I finish the presentation on this. So as I was telling you, part-time and full-time students, 2 evenings, and then the full-time students are 3 to 5 evenings per week. And attendance is compulsory for both of it. We look at 70% of attendance to be there among our students, at least to focus on their assessments. So attendance is something that is compulsory, and we offer a fully in-person classes unless and until there is a natural calamity that forces us to go hybrid. We offer very much in-person and experiential learning. So one of the key insights from the MBA program, which is a distinctive feature, is that we do not believe in exams, closed book exams, as our mode to evaluate our students' knowledge or what they learned in a given module. So every module will have two components of assessments. One is a formative assessment, the other is summative assessment. So the formative is the draft version where you can provide it and then get consultation with your instructor before you make a graded assessment called the summative assessment. Okay. Now we, for example, we can ask, in a course like economics, we can ask the student to conduct a microeconomic analysis of a given firm, of a given country, in a given industry. Or we can just ask to provide and develop a global growth strategy for a firm, probably in our marketing and strategy class. In an accounting class, we can ask our student to give the information and then evaluate the financial statements of this business and get those ratios and interpret the ratios. And in a typical digital marketing class, we can ask them to create a digital marketing plan. So these are very modern, contemporary, value adding assessments. We keep on updating them on a timely basis to make it more relevant to the expectations from the industry. We will not be asking you those memory based questions of for example, in finance, what is debt equity ratio, what is the ideal number for that, right? So what are the components of a typical digital marketing plan? Explain 500 words. We will not ask you that memory based questions. So at the start of the term, you will be given the brief of the assessment, and throughout the term you will be discussed with so many topics, with each and every session that you attend for that module. And eventually at the end of the term, you will submit assessments like this. So these are all take home assessments. These are all soft copy submissions on our learning management software. Okay. So there is no exams per se, right? So but nonetheless, these are very rigorous, very high quality, and high value added. That is something which we ensure in all of our assessments. So some of the faculty team that you can see, a lot of multicultural faculty, with both industry experience and also heavy academic experience coming in. So they will be interacting with you if you decide to take either of our MBA programs. So coming to the modules that you will be taking in the MBA program. So these are considered to be your core modules, right? So we have 5 core modules. So this is so we're talking about managing and developing people. This is something that I teach along with my colleague Dr. Sheldon. So this is where we can talk about leadership and everything. So we have finance and economic analysis, we have global marketing management, and strategy and innovation. So these are the core modules. So no matter which pathway that you decide to take, these are the 4 core modules that you have to undergo. And this is a business transformation project. This is a research project. This is a research project. Now, this project can be dealt in 3 ways. So if you were an individual who is interested to start something on your own or build a startup on your own, you can treat it as an entrepreneurship project, as an entrepreneurship project. If you're somebody who wants to understand a lot of academic insight on a topic, how does cross-cultural leadership impact employee performance? right? So as a very academic research, then you can treat it as an academic thesis. Or if you want to, if you're already an experienced employee and do a lot of consulting projects, you can do a consulting project, as part of this. So it can be either entrepreneurship, a consulting, or a typical research project. So that's how a student has the choice to deal with it. This is almost 60 credits. So I'm sure students who have done this exercise with due diligence, they have got a great value addition of learning something new or creating something new. So now talk about pathways. We have 8 pathways. So no matter of pathways, every student in our MBA program with full-time, part-time, MBA or executive MBA, these modules remain the same, right? Now the 8 pathways, we have healthcare management, very popular pathway. We have students who have done their MBBS, and they're practicing doctors and they want to become case managers and hospital administrators. So they take healthcare management, very popular offering that we have as of moment. Business analytics, data analytics, marketing analytics are really picking up. So business analytics. So if you want to specialize in any of them, you are expected to complete and get a passing grade of 2 modules, right? So four core modules, one project with 2 optional modules, right? And that becomes your pathway. So then you can label yourself as, let's say, executive MBA in healthcare management, executive MBA in project management, executive MBA in finance, right? So we have marketing, 2 modules. They can be changing the offerings, but by and large this is the optional set. But we have more optionals that are available for each and every discipline that you have. So the core modules will give the student a basic and holistic understanding of management in general or business in general. But when we go into specializations, you can pick up these pathways. Apart from this core and optional modules, every individual is expected to focus and also submit the professional development program reports. So we have 2 specific programs that we do, and these are co-curricular, I would say. These are all 0 credit modules, but it is compulsory to do. So we have experts on internal faculty dealing with something called team leadership, entrepreneurship, business simulation, and we have a consultancy project, one international, one regional, based on the version of the MBA program that you are taking. And we also have executive skills development, like executive leadership, managing projects, and data analytics. So these are in addition to your core modules and the optional modules. These are supplementary modules that will make the individual to be more competent, to be more ready to the job requirements in the market. So these are done by specialists. The instructors are, as I said, highly experienced individuals, and they are very practical. For example, we were doing the team leadership applied learning. This is our Java cohort, and then we have myself and my colleague Dr. Neil Amitad. So we both have done the team learning. And so essentially, we can't discuss a lot of concepts and theories when we talk about team learning. So we have made sure that we build an activity. We first had some theoretical base on what are teams, what are leaders. We did a lot of activities, and then we made sure that we book a facility. This is our university again. So they build a standalone structure, with proper resources given to them and a proper time allocated to them, and they were able to build these structures which are standalone, right? And then we come back and then we try to debrief what were the learnings like, and how did we learn, and what were some things that we can improve upon as teams, right? So they have made various pictures and various activities. In the interest of time, I have only put in a couple of images there. So in Middlesex MBA, I would conclude, is a very focused MBA, which is taught by experienced faculty and industry practitioners. It's at the heart of Dubai. It is offered. It has 2 campuses, Knowledge Park and the Academic City, we call it as. So there are 2 campuses that we have in Dubai. And so if you have any further queries, you can scan the QR code and then write an email to the program leader of the MBA program. As I said, I am somebody who teaches in this program, but there's a dedicated program leader for this. So who is Dr. Mariam Aslam. So you can direct your queries if you have more than what we discuss now, right? So please let me know if you have any questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer everything.
Thank you very much for this presentation. Indeed, we have a few questions. They're more related to the program, so I don't know if it will be you or Sai helping here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to read the first one. Do we need to demonstrate leadership skills in our application for the MBA program?
Um, for example, that depends if you are looking at an executive MBA option. Well, you say that I have a lot of experience in play. You can talk about how many teams that you have managed in the past and what were some of the results. Like, that's going to go and help in your favor, especially when you choose the executive MBA path, right? But there is no limit to exhibiting leadership skills. There can be any level of activities that you can showcase. But if there is any that you want to tell us in the application, please do so.
Great, thank
For
you.
the application, I'll just add, you will need to submit a personal statement, your CV if you're going for the executive MBA, along with a recommendation letter.
Great. And there is kind of a related question here. Can I apply for the MBA if I don't have financial background? And if I can also build up a little bit here, can you just tell us what kind of background people need in order to apply and be accepted to the program?
Sorry, I missed the question. Can you just please repeat it?
Yeah, the first part of the question, do a person need financial background to apply?
No,
No.
because we in the core modules we'll start off with the fundamentals, and then we build with the basic concepts, and before you come to the assessment of that particular module and then take the specializations in the pathway, you'll be very well prepared. So with zero experience, you can just come in and then just be with the open mind. Yeah, that should help.
Great. And can you talk a little bit more about what kind of background people need, what kind of skills they need to be successful in the MBA program?
Especially if you are taking our day MBA program, which is attracted towards people who recently completed their undergraduation. So you might have got some study modules that you have covered in your undergraduation or not. But anyway, we will start with some fundamentals. But our focus is that you got to be more participative in the classroom, understand the general businesses, like how businesses work, and then also be very clear of what you want to become, what you want to do after your MBA program. Having that knowledge of where do I navigate through my career, if you know of it, you work around of it, then you can take maximum benefit out of the program. Because if I know, for example, I want to become a marketing manager, so I'm gonna be very, very participative in the marketing class. I discuss with my marketing instructor and professor. I participate in so many competitions and activities that university conducts. So you got to be really sure of what career path or what career stream that you want to pick. Except that, we will take care of everything.
That's great, great to hear. Okay, we have a question. Are we going to have the opportunity to work on projects with real companies?
Yes, we have we have a consultancy project, alongside with the MBA program. The consultancy project is of two versions. The day MBA program has a regional level consultancy project. So you will be given a problem, and then you will go to a facility, that is essentially a company, and then it is all covered by the university itself, and where you go and then learn something from the experience of 1 week or so, come back and reflect on it. That's one way. We have something called a consultancy project, and then the second part is we have a lot of guest lectures that we do organize, and the panel discussions that we do organize. So and then we have hackathons that not only business schools but other departments do organize, right? So these are some of the avenues where that you can actually use your problem solving skills.
And Nitin, do you also want to touch on the trip that they'll be able to do if they do our MBA as well?
Absolutely. So the international consultancy project is especially, this is directed to the executive MBA. For the executive MBA, we take our students to either Paris or Milan, right? This is all fully covered within the fee structure that is displayed to you. And except the visa, because some of you might have already a visa, some of you might not have, except the visa, everything is covered. You are taken to some of the very good facilities of top multinational international brands of Paris and Milan. You are given that experiential learning for a week over there, and you're given dedicated tasks to observe certain things, come back to the university in Dubai, and then start writing a report and presenting it. So this is for the executive MBA. That's the trip which is the student can choose whether he or she wants to go to either Paris or Milan. That's the student's choice, right? If we are doing a daytime MBA, which is our 8 to 5 program with less experienced students, the consultancy project is more in GCC, right? It's more local. Probably it is in the UAE or in any of the Gulf cooperation countries, but the learning would be the same.
Great, sounds like a lot of fun. We don't have any more questions. I'm just giving 1 minute last chance for everyone to ask their questions, and I'm going to ask a question of my own to show also the fun part of the MBA. I know it's a serious business, but the fun part of it, maybe you can share a little bit about the campus life, social activities, clubs, so on.
Yeah, so probably Sai, you might add on to this. Professors may not be having the understanding of the fun side of the university, so we are all focused towards the class. So
Yeah.
I only can share whatever I have seen, but maybe Sai is a better person to add on to what I say. So in a classroom, I think from a faculty point of view, we would like to make the class itself is very interacting, lively, and happening. It's not really an authoritarian lecturer coming and then giving you orders. It's a very two-way communication, interactive. Apart from that, we have so many social clubs on campus. We have a student experience facility where they can just relax. They can play a lot of indoor sports like table tennis, snooker. We have a lot of playstations, which I always wanted to go there. I never got the opportunity. So we have a lot of playstations. We have a lot of indoor sort of games available for our students. And maybe I'll leave it to Sai to take it further on this.
Sure. So as Nitin already mentioned, we definitely do have a lot of MDX facilities that would be open to everyone to use. Additionally, we have a lot of events that are happening on campus where you'll be able to network, meet people. The fun part of the event and the business part of the event will be there, evidently. So there's a lot of activity happening around campus and a lot of things that go on within Middlesex, and we would love to be able to have you to join our team.
Thank you both for sharing this information. We don't have any more questions, but of course we're going to follow up with everyone and share more information about the program, and you can get in touch.
Sure. If everyone would like, I could put a link in the chat of where they can apply as well. So this one is for our MBA, executive MBA course, which is the evening course. On the top right-hand corner, you'll be able to see the big red apply button. And then we do have an MBA daytime course as well, where you'd be able to apply. Once you apply, in 24 hours, you'll get a response from one of our admission counselors about your application and whether you're eligible.
That's great. Okay, any last words?
Last word from my side is it's going to be a decision which is definitely worth it if you sign up for the MDX MBA. It's very competitive. We are a very friendly bunch of people who care for each other. I was talking about culture. We will not only talk, but we also practice a lot of things that we discuss. So we have very a family or friendly sort of a culture on campus. Everybody talks to each other in a very lively atmosphere. And as a student, I'm sure you will be at the center of the whole experience, right? So everything that we do is to create that positive experience to our students, and we keep making it better and better. So make a conscious call, and I'm sure I at least see some of you in my next leadership session.
I would just like to add, thank you, Nitin. But yes, the MBA course, as he mentioned, is an amazing course. It's a great way to level up your career, or if you're a fresh graduate, have that MBA degree under your belt before you even get started in your career, which Middlesex is one of the only universities to offer at this time, which is great. We do also have a careers and employability service. So we have an office in Block 15, and you can get in touch with our career counselor, Amanda, who will help you in applying for jobs or providing you with opportunities that you may not get elsewhere. They also sit with you and speak about your resume, go over it, see how you can improve it, so on and so forth. So we would love to see you on campus soon for sure.